Most of you probably have a facial cleanser and moisturizer already, so I want to tell you about Shield and Slay DP, which is an anti-pollution hydration spray I formulated specifically for my skincare line, Serve Labs. This is actually a product I've been looking for years now and haven't been able to find on the market, which is something that was a hydration spray but also has anti-pollution, antioxidant properties for your skin. Shield and Slay DP is the ultimate double protection defense for your skin, teaming up antioxidants, probiotics, along with hydrating ingredients to fend off environmental stressors and aggressors. You can use it as part of your daily skincare routine, but I've also designed it so you can use it while you're out and about, on an airplane, or whenever your skin feels dry, dull, or a bit worse for wear. All you have to do is spray it on. Check out Shield and Slay DP along with the rest of the Serve Labs skincare lineup at servelabs.co, servelabs.co, and you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at servelabs. Hello and welcome to the Gay Cruise and Travel Podcast with me, just Joey T. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my recap of the Atlantis Allure cruise that happened a few weeks ago, earlier in February. It's got quite a lot of views and it's got quite a few comments. So I feel like quite a lot of you that were on that cruise actually watched it. And I thought it'd be especially helpful for those people that, for whatever reason, they had it booked, but they had to give up their booking at the last minute, or they weren't able to make it for whatever reason. It's actually quite common. You know, life happens. But anyways, and that was a long podcast, so thank you all for, if you made it to the end of that one, bravo, good for you. I did try to move it along a little bit, but that was a longer episode for sure. So today, I thought I would stick to something a little bit shorter, a little less intense. I always like the podcasts I listen to. I either like them to be 20-ish minutes, if it's more like banter, or if it's a podcast that's focused on a particular topic, I can actually listen to like an hour-long podcast. But anyways, the topic I want to talk about today, and we're not going to go on for an hour, and it's actually a topic I feel like I've explained quite a lot over the, 10 years now, about 10 years that I've been doing the YouTube cruise videos. It's been 10 years since I went on my first cruise. 2015 was when I did my first cruise, and look at me now. So over the 10 years, having gone on so many cruises, having volunteered for Atlantis several times, and having my videos out there, and then obviously seeing some of the comments, having talked to a lot of different people about cruises, a lot of different passengers. When I was volunteering for Atlantis, part of that job, the volunteers are there to work, they're not there to party, is to, talk to and interact with as many of the passengers as possible. So that was actually a really valuable thing for me to do. I actually found that it was very interesting to just talk casually while I was on the cruise with lots of different passengers, not just because it was only my job, but I also found it very interesting as someone who has been on a lot of cruises, someone who really likes the cruises. It was really interesting to see the different reasons that people come onto the cruises, things that people liked, things that people didn't like for the passengers that have been on many cruises over many years. It was also interesting to hear what they saw was the evolution of when they first started cruising and how cruises and gay cruises in Atlantis, for example, had evolved over the years that they have been sailing. And one thing that I always get from people who have never been on a cruise, or maybe they've been on like one cruise, is gay cruises have a reputation for being just like an orgy, or it's just party, and there's just like drugs and sex everywhere. And it's one of those things where I talk about this topic, maybe not on this podcast, a pretty new podcast, but like over the years, I've talked about this so much, and it's a point that I really try to educate various people on, because that perception, especially with people who have never been on a cruise, that a gay cruise full of gay men is just like parties and orgies and sex and drugs. That is not true. Cruises are kind of a niche thing. Not even talking about within the queer world or within like the gay world. Okay, most people generally, when they think of taking a trip, taking a vacation, they don't automatically think of going on a cruise. They think of a road trip or taking a plane to a destination that they explore. They're driving somewhere to a vacation destination and they're going to be there to sightsee or visit people or do certain things or whatever. Or they fly somewhere. It's like the destination on land. They don't really think about, I'm going to go on a cruise. Right? So I feel like in the grand scheme of what people think of a trip or like a vacation, they're already not thinking about a cruise. It's like the minority that are doing cruises. And even within like the LGBTQIA world, within the queer world, if you will, when people think about doing some sort of like trip, they're not thinking about a cruise either. So I feel like most people have not been on a cruise. And when you think about the gays being a subset of the whole population, there's even less people that have been on a gay cruise. So yeah, it's a myth, if you will, that all gay cruises are drug, sex, rock and roll, if you will. And I will say though, on my YouTube channel, I have made quite a few cruise videos, gay cruise videos, and the after movies definitely show a lot of the parties. But I will say in all the after movies that I've made, I've also made it a point to highlight, the entertainment that Atlantis brings on board all of their cruises. For example, drag queens, comedians, performers, singers, all that kind of stuff. But, that's also, I feel like, at least in terms of Atlantis, a very integral part of the experience. Yes, they have the dance party is an option. Again, when you go on a cruise, there's so many different things you can do. You can be going to like the spa to get a massage. You can go to a fancy restaurant to have like a date night. You can go to one of the dance parties and dance. You can go to the theater and see a musical. You can go to like the casino and have some fun there. You can go to the pool during the daytime and sunbathe or have a swim. So there's so many different things you can do on a cruise, just like in a city. So just to say like, if you go on a gay cruise, it's just everyone's just having sex, everyone's just doing drugs. You don't say that someone who lives in, like, I live in West Hollywood, and there are a lot of bars in West Hollywood. So it's almost saying like, well, you live in West Hollywood and you are like, a younger gay man, so you must always be going to the bars and you must always be getting drunk. It's the analogy, it's almost like that. Because a cruise ship is kind of sort of like a self-contained little city. So any kind of amenity or activity that you can imagine one doing in like a city, that is probably available on a cruise ship as well. So yeah, I live in the middle of West Hollywood right now. I'm recording this podcast from the middle of West Hollywood. I'm walking distance to the bars in West Hollywood, but I don't go there every day, every night, at least for someone who's done so many cruises. And I know that the experience is not like that. So that's why a lot of times I tell people, I speak with people that haven't been on a cruise and they bring this up and they ask me, not in like a negative way, but they ask me, I've not been on a gay cruise before, but I heard that it's a lot of drugs, it's a lot of sex, it's just like an orgy, blah, blah, blah. And just having like flip through comments and flip through Reddit and things like that, that's a pretty common train of thought for people who have not been on a gay cruise before. Yeah, so I'm just here to say that it's not true. So the Atlantis cruise that I was just on, and I sometimes refer to that one as a party cruise because there are different cruises, all with a different vibe. And it's not just Atlantis doing gay cruises. There are like other companies as well that are doing cruises. And I feel like every company has a different vibe or type of cruises that they provide. And even within Atlantis, not every cruise has like a party cruise per se. So again, the one that's in February, on the big Royal Caribbean ships, and I refer to that as a party cruise because that's basically kind of like a party cruise. Out of all the cruises on Atlantis' cruise calendar, that one has the biggest parties, that has like the biggest party crowd out of, the passenger population, if you will. And yeah, there are higher percentage of party people on those cruises versus other cruises that I've been on. So there is a cruise that's setting sail just like yesterday or like today, which is the Southern Caribbean Exotic Cruise. That's also a Atlantis cruise, but that one is on a smaller ship, and that one is not a party cruise. Atlantis they do like 6 or 8 cruises, something like that, every single year. And it's really only like this big one in early February or end of January that I would call like a party cruise. So I've talked about me going on the Thanksgiving cruise that Atlantis had last November, and that was not a party cruise. Did they throw the dance parties like they do every night? Yes, it was there, but it wasn't like a nightclub. It wasn't like the Abbey in West Hollywood, It wasn't like jam-packed. It wasn't a party crowd because that wasn't a party cruise. So, I had a very relaxing time. Like, honestly, I went on that cruise solo and I made some videos, and I would just go to the restaurants, go to the buffet or some of the restaurants solo. And sometimes I would just be sitting beside other solo travelers or like other people that were like, either they were coupled up or they were just like 1 or 2 people to a table. And I would just have random conversations with them. It was just a really low-key, nice, easy way to talk to other people, at the restaurant, to meet some new people. Yeah, and that was not party, and we were not on drugs, and we were not drinking. We were just having lunch. I was just literally like having lunch, or I just woken up and I was having breakfast. So I think it's easy whenever there is some sort of event that is predominantly gay men. It's so easy to just, for people's heads to go, oh, a big group of gay men at a recreational event. It's just drugs and orgies. Like, where do we get to, how do we associate being like groups of gay men always doing drugs and always having sex? That's the disconnect that I think it's a little bit hard for me to understand. Yes, there do exist events that are like sex parties, for example, that are thrown for gay men. Yes, that does exist, but that is not every event that gay men attend, So if you happen to be listening to this and you have never been on a gay cruise before, and or you might know some friends that might be gay that you might have talked to them about my videos, or you might have talked to them about the gay cruises, and they just have this like preconception like, oh, it's all drugs and sex and orgies, and I don't want to go on that. That sounds like not a fun time, but that's not true. And one of the things I hope to achieve with this podcast is for the people that are interested in taking a gay cruise, one is just to better educate you listeners on what the gay cruise experience is actually like, from someone who's done a lot of them, for someone who's volunteered with Atlantis several times, and from someone who's talked to a lot of people that have done the cruises, and not from some random person on the internet that is just like has no experience at all with a gay cruise and just spewing whatever onto a comment section. But the other thing I want to get out there is that there are different cruises for different people. So I just talked about the party cruise that happened earlier this month. There's a cruise happening right now with Atlantis that is not a party cruise. That's like much more chill and low key. I talked about the Thanksgiving cruise I went on in November. There are the Mediterranean cruises in Europe every summer, and those are great for sightseeing. I went on a couple of the Med cruises before, and if you like the itinerary and you want to like get off the ship and go sightsee in Mykonos or in Rome or in like wherever the ship is gonna go. So, one of my earliest teenage obsessions was skincare. Instead of looking at toys in the kids section at the store, I was looking at moisturizers in the skincare section. As I grew up and navigated my sexuality, I saw that most of the beauty industry was aimed at feminine women, sometimes at masculine men, but everyone else was left out. It wasn't for someone like me. With Surf Labs, I wanted to create a fun skincare experience for everyone. I'm pretty sure your skin doesn't care how masc or femme you are or who you love, but I'm absolutely sure you need to take care of it. Check us out at surflabs.co, servelabs.co, and you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at surflabs. I was actually talking to a friend of mine. He's never been on a cruise before, but he likes to do like the sightseeing thing, and he wouldn't mind going to Europe. And I was just talking to him about, I've been on the Med cruises before, and it was like I had a lot of fun. And he kind of sort of has he has a notion in his head that a gay cruise isn't for him. He does go to like the odd party here and there, so he's not opposed to like the parties, but he doesn't really know enough about a gay cruise. It's not really something that's like piqued his interest. He doesn't know that much about it, so he kind of sort of has a notion that it's not for him, even though he doesn't know much about it. And the way I was explaining it to him was, well, let's say you want to go to Europe and sightsee at some different cities and some of the different countries in Europe. You would need to figure out your own flights to Europe, and then between all the different cities and places you want to visit within Europe, and then you obviously have to have a flight to take you back home to here in the US. Then you have to figure out your accommodations in every single place that you want to stay. So logistically, it's doable. Lots of people do that. But then you also have to, every time you're moving from one city to another city, you have to pack up all your stuff from the hotel. And then you have to get yourself to the airport. You have to go through the security. You have to take the flight, hoping that it's not delayed, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now you arrive at your new city. Now you got to get yourself from the airport to the new hotel. Then you unpack, blah, 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 blah. And the way I pitched the cruise to him was, think of the cruise as transportation and a home base. So instead of you having to pack up all your stuff to go to a different city and having to take a plane and do the airport experience and all of that, you spend like a whole day traveling basically. You just hop back onto the cruise at the end of the day at whatever port of call you're on, and the cruise ship will take you to the next place in Europe that you're going to sightsee. But you don't have to pack up anything. When you get back on the cruise ship, you have your own room. You have, a private bathroom. You have your own bed. You have your stuff that you can, just have lying around, and have your own closet and your toiletries out and everything. And then while the ship is transferring from one destination to the other destination, you get to go to a restaurant and have a dinner. You can go to the pool and then have a relaxing swim. You can go to the spa and get a massage. You can go to the gym and work out. You can go see a show. If you wanted to, there might even be a dance party. Okay. And then the next morning when you wake up, you're at the new destination, and then you can just get off the ship. So I feel like there are a lot of different ways you can view a cruise. That example obviously is you can view the cruise more of transportation to bring you to different places where you might want to sightsee. That's more for like the European cruises, I think. But don't think of it as it's just like a giant orgy. I will say though, there are, on these cruises, thousands of gay men. So for the people who do want to have sex, I mean, you don't need to be on a gay cruise to find a whole bunch of gay men to have sex with. Obviously not every city and not every country has this luxury. But in the US, as an example, in a lot of major cities, there are, gay clubs you can go to, and it's a bunch of gay men, and if you wanted to pick someone up, you could. And we have this thing called Grindr now. So if you just wanted to have sex, you can just go on Grindr probably and find something. I know that doesn't apply universally to everybody in the US and to like all the different countries, but just because there's like a big group of gay men in one single place doesn't mean that everybody's having sex, and doesn't mean that it's an orgy. It's not like every time I invite my gay friends over to my apartment because it's a big group of gay friends, it's automatically an orgy. So I'm not sure where that perception came from, that on a cruise of gay men, it has to be like that. But it's really, really not. So sex does happen, but doesn't mean it's an orgy. Like, a lot of people are having fun in the privacy of their own stateroom because they want to. Not because everywhere they go, there is like just sex everywhere, but it's not like that. So I feel like I have explained this a lot to people. I feel like this is a tune I've played over and over. Yeah, but it's very interesting to me whenever I talk to people that have not been on a great cruise before, and they're like, I don't know about this. Obviously, this rep of gay cruises came from somewhere. I don't know where it came from. But yeah, I'm going to do my best to educate anyone who will listen about what the real cruise experience is like, which is perfectly normal people that happen to be gay go on these cruises. They, wake up at a normal time of day and they have a breakfast. They sunbathe by the pool where it's not an orgy and they're not doing drugs. And then they meet people that they've not met before. And then they get to have lunch, and then maybe they go to the gym, and then maybe they, go rock climbing, or they do some yoga, and then they take a swim. Maybe then it's dinner time, and they find some new friends to have dinner with. And, no orgy, no drugs, okay? And then they go see a show. Maybe there's like a drag queen that's performing. Maybe there's a musical. Erotic is a show that I mentioned, which is so good. All while not having an orgy, all while not doing drugs, okay? And then not everybody goes to the parties. Even the party cruise that I mentioned was happening earlier this month. There were 5,000 passengers on that cruise, like 99% of which were gay men. And the party venues can't hold 5,000 people. You don't have 5,000 people packed in this one tiny area of the ship. It doesn't happen like that. The vast majority of the ship is not at the party, to be really honest. There's only like one party going on. There's not some massive orgy that is happening, okay? I know there's the dick deck, but the dick deck is not like this giant sprawling area. There's not like 200 people in the dick deck, okay? And then the rest of the ship, they're just doing normal things. So even when like the party's at its peak, there are people that are like sleeping. There are people that are in their cabins. There are people that are in the promenade, grabbing a pizza. There are people in the buffet just grabbing a bite. Like normal people, just like in regular clothes. It's not an orgy and they're not on drugs. Maybe I can find a better way in the future to like illustrate this point, because I feel like no matter, it's sometimes a little hard to explain. Maybe visuals work a little bit better. But yeah, I would love to hear what you all think. Some of you have been on a cruise before and kind of know what it's like. And some of you have not been on a cruise before, and you might be curious about wanting to know more about what a gay cruise experience is like. But if you're listening to this podcast and you've not been on a cruise before, I feel like you probably have some level of curiosity about what the cruise experience is like. And it is a decent sized investment. Honestly, the cruises are not cheap to go on. It's like thousands of dollars. And one of the things I want to do in the future is maybe like give some, maybe not cruise specific tips, but some general travel tips of how you can kind of make the dollar go a little bit further. If that's a topic you would want me to go into, yeah, comment below. Yeah, but I would love to hear from all of you what you think of the preconceived notions that a lot of people have, especially those who have not been on a cruise before, that gay cruises are just drugs and sex and orgies and things like that. Yeah, I would love to hear if you have that viewpoint, which I'm not judging. Obviously, I'm just here to like bust what I see is clearly a myth. I would love to hear from you. So comment down in the YouTube comments below. And again, if there's any topics you guys want me to talk about on this gay cruise and travel podcast, feel free to do so. In a future upcoming episode, I am going to talk a little bit more about some of the other cruises Atlantis will be sailing later this year. Like I said, there's a cruise going on right now in the Southern Caribbean. But for those who are looking to book or will book the Memorial Day weekend cruise, for example, that's going from Miami with Atlantis again, leading up to that, I do plan on doing a series of podcast episodes to get all of you who will be going on that cruise ready for it. I'm kind of excited to see how that cruise turns out. I'm kind of interested to go on that cruise. I have nothing booked. I've got some other travel in May that kind of conflicts, but I don't know. We'll see. I would like to go on that cruise, but we'll see if I make it on or not. But even if I don't make it on, I would love to help those who have booked that cruise. Just, give them some hints and pointers here and there in the weeks leading up to that cruise here on this podcast. But I'm really interested in to like get the CVG and just see how that one turns out. They've not done a Memorial Day weekend cruise in recent memory. I don't think they've done one in the last 10 years at least. There was the Anthem cruise on the Anthem of the Seas in 2016 from New York, and I was on that one, but that was the week before Memorial Day weekend in May. But I'm really excited to see how that one turns out. As always, I would love to see your comments down in the YouTube comment section. But until next time, bye, y'all.